2 hours. That's the window you have every night to either help your thyroid or slowly destroy it without knowing. And most people over 50 are using those 2 hours in the worst possible way. Not because they're careless, but because nobody ever explained that what you do between 8 and 10 p.m. has a direct measurable impact on the gland that controls your metabolism, your energy, your weight, your mood, and your body temperature. Today I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening, why it matters, and what to change tonight. Not Monday, tonight. Before we get into it, I want you to do something. Think about your routine in the last 2 hours of the day. What do you normally do between 8 and 10 p.m.? You're probably in front of the TV, or with your phone in your hand, or eating something late, or mentally replaying the problems of the day you still haven't solved. Maybe you had a coffee in the afternoon that's still in your system. Maybe the room is too brightly lit. All of that, absolutely all of it, is sending signals to your thyroid. And the signals it's getting almost certainly aren't the ones it needs to function well the next day. The thyroid is a small, butterfly-shaped gland that sits at the base of your neck. It weighs less than an ounce. But what it produces, the thyroid hormones T3 and T4, controls practically every cell in your body. The speed at which you burn calories, the speed at which your heart beats, the temperature your body maintains, the speed at which your brain processes information, the speed at which your intestines move food through. Everything. And after 50, the thyroid starts working differently. Not necessarily worse in every case, but differently, more sensitive, more dependent on the conditions you give it. And the conditions you give it at night are the most important of all, because nighttime is when the thyroid does its most critical work. What I'm going to tell you today, you won't hear in a 15-minute appointment. Not because your doctor doesn't know it, but because it takes time to explain properly, and appointment time is the scarcest resource in modern medicine. That's why I'm here. Most people think the thyroid is a passive organ, that it just produces hormones steadily in the background all day long. That's not how it works. The thyroid has its own circadian rhythm, a schedule, and that schedule is synchronized with the light-dark cycle of the day. During the day, it produces hormones at a moderate rate, but there's a very specific production peak that happens during the first hours of sleep, roughly between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., when the body is dark, still, and at rest. That nighttime peak determines how much thyroid hormone your body will have available for the next day. If the peak gets interrupted, because you didn't sleep well, because there was artificial light when there should have been darkness, because you ate late and digestion was still active, thyroid hormone production for the next day drops. And you feel it. It feels like waking up tired, like unexplained cold, like a slow mind, like difficulty losing weight even when you're eating well. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2020 followed TSH levels, the hormone that regulates the thyroid, in adults over 55 for 12 weeks. Participants who maintained consistent nighttime routines, same bedtime, adequate darkness, no screens in the last hour, had significantly more stable TSH levels and more optimal thyroid function than those with irregular routines. The difference wasn't genetic, it was nighttime habits. And here's something I think is one of the most important things I've learned studying thyroid health in older adults: subclinical hypothyroidism, that condition where the thyroid functions below optimal but not low enough to show up in standard blood tests, affects between 15 and 20% of adults over 65. 15 to 20%. And most of those people have spent years feeling tired, cold, mentally slow, gaining weight for no apparent reason, and their blood tests always come back normal, because the reference ranges on standard tests aren't calibrated for older adults. They're calibrated for the general population. Let's talk about what you're probably doing every night without knowing the impact it's having. Blue light from screens is the first and most well-studied one. When you look at your phone, tablet, or TV after dark, the blue light those screens emit sends a signal to your brain, specifically to the pineal gland, that it's still daytime. That signal blocks melatonin production, And here's the connection almost nobody mentions. Melatonin doesn't just regulate sleep, it also has a direct relationship with thyroid function. A study published in Thyroid Research in 2021 found that melatonin acts as a regulator of TSH production during the night. When melatonin drops because of blue light exposure, the signal that reaches the thyroid for its nighttime production peak gets weaker. Result: less thyroid hormone produced for the next day. But it's not just screens. Unresolved stress before bed has an equally devastating effect. Cortisol, the stress hormone, and thyroid hormones compete for the same cellular receptors. When cortisol is high at night because you went to bed replaying the day's problems, it literally blocks the action of thyroid hormone in the cells. Your thyroid may be producing enough hormone, but the cortisol is stopping it from getting where it needs to go. It's like sending a messenger who can't get into the building. And the third one, this one surprises people, is eating late with foods that interfere with iodine absorption. Iodine is the mineral the thyroid needs to manufacture its hormones. Without enough iodine, there's no T3 or T4. And there are foods that, eaten in excess, and especially at night when the thyroid is at its peak of activity, interfere with iodine absorption. Processed soy is the most documented one. Raw cabbage, raw broccoli, raw Brussels sprouts all contain compounds called goitrogens that in large amounts can interfere with thyroid function. Cooked, they lose most of that effect. The problem is when they're consumed raw in large quantities just before bed, in green smoothies or late-night salads. And the fourth one is one that's hard for me to bring up because I know a lot of people do this, taking thyroid medication at any random time. Those who are already on levothyroxine, the most prescribed thyroid medication in the world, need to know something critical. Levothyroxine has a very specific absorption window. It absorbs best on a completely empty stomach, 30 to 60 minutes before eating. If you take it right before bed after dinner, absorption can drop by up to 40%, 40% less medication reaching where it needs to go. And many doctors don't explain this in enough detail because they assume the patient already knows. This is the part that hits my patients hardest, because many of them have had these symptoms for years and completely normalized them. Do you struggle to lose weight even when you eat well and move around? Thyroid hormone is the accelerator of your metabolism. When the thyroid works below optimal, the metabolism slows down, not dramatically overnight, but slowly, silently. And people start eating less and less while still gaining weight or being unable to drop the pounds they put on. That's not a lack of willpower. In many cases, that's the thyroid. Do you feel cold when others don't? Cold hands and feet even when it's not cold out? Thyroid hormone regulates body temperature. When it drops, the body loses its ability to generate peripheral heat. The extremities are the first to feel it. Is your hair falling out more than normal, or has it become finer and drier? The thyroid regulates the hair growth cycle. When it malfunctions, hair enters its resting phase faster than normal and falls out ahead of schedule. It's one of the earliest and most ignored symptoms of subclinical hypothyroidism, constipation that's gotten worse in recent years without any change in diet. Thyroid hormone regulates intestinal motility, the speed at which the intestines move food. When it drops, everything slows down. And chronic constipation in adults over 50 that doesn't respond well to dietary changes has a thyroid component that almost never gets evaluated. Mild depression or persistent low mood with no clear cause? Thyroid hormones directly affect serotonin production in the brain. Subclinical hypothyroidism is one of the most frequent causes of treatment-resistant depression in older adults, and one of the least diagnosed. I've seen patients whose antidepressant was changed 3 times without result, and when their thyroid function was finally optimized, the depression improved within weeks. Slower heartbeat, feeling like your heart isn't keeping up? Thyroid hormone regulates heart rate. A slow thyroid slows the heart, and that feeling of a pulse that's too quiet, of lacking energy even at rest, that can be the thyroid. If you have 3 or more of these symptoms, It's worth asking your doctor not just for the standard TSH test, but also for free T3 and free T4. Those two additional values give a much more complete picture of how your thyroid is actually functioning. And if your doctor says your TSH is within normal range, but you still feel bad, the optimal range for older adults is different from the standard lab reference range. That's a conversation worth having. And here we get to the part I most want to give you, because all the science in the world is worth nothing if you don't know what to do with it. It all starts 2 hours before you go to sleep, hence the number in the hook. If you go to bed at 10, what you do from 8 p.m. onward matters more than you think. The first thing you can do, and the one with the most immediate impact, is lower the light intensity in your home. You don't have to live in the dark, but switching from white, cool lights to yellow or warm lights in the rooms where you spend your evening sends a different signal to your brain. It says, night is falling, and that activates the melatonin cascade your thyroid needs for its nighttime production peak. It's a light bulb change, literally. It costs $3 and can change your thyroid function within weeks. Screens are harder to eliminate completely. I get it, I don't live in a cave and I don't expect you to either, but there are two reasonable alternatives. One is the night mode on your devices, that option that makes the screen warmer and more yellow. It doesn't eliminate the problem completely, but it reduces it significantly. The other, and this is the one I recommend most, is simply putting your phone in another room an hour before bed, not turning it off, just moving it away. 90% of what you check on your phone at 9 p.m. can wait until morning, and your thyroid will thank you for it. Dinner matters more than you think, and not because of the calories, because of the timing and what you eat. Eating at least 2 hours before bed, we already covered this in the liver video, gives the digestive system time to calm down before the thyroid starts its nighttime work. And when it comes to what you eat, selenium-rich foods are the thyroid's best nighttime allies. Selenium is the mineral the thyroid needs to convert T4 into T3, the active form of the hormone. Brazil nuts are the most concentrated source. 2 Brazil nuts a day cover the daily selenium requirement. 2 nuts, not a handful. 2. Magnesium is the second great nighttime mineral for the thyroid. It relaxes the nervous system, lowers cortisol, and supports the conversion of thyroid hormones. Where do you find it? In almonds, spinach, dark chocolate with more than 70% cacao, avocados, pumpkin seeds. A small portion of any of those with dinner, not as a late-night snack with dinner, makes a measurable difference in overnight magnesium levels. And I'll close with something that sounds so simple it seems impossible it could work. Lowering the temperature of your room before sleeping. Sleeping in a cool environment, between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, improves the quality of deep sleep. And deep sleep is exactly when the thyroid does its production peak. A study from the National Institutes of Health published in 2019 found that sleeping in cool environments not only improved sleep quality, but also raised levels of adiponectin, a hormone that works alongside the thyroid to regulate metabolism. Room temperature. Something as simple as cracking a window or turning the thermostat down 2 degrees can measurably impact your thyroid function. I want you to think about something before this video ends. Your thyroid has been working for you in silence since before you were born. Yes, the thyroid starts functioning in the human fetus at 12 weeks of gestation. It's been with you your entire life, regulating your temperature when you were cold, speeding up your metabolism when you needed energy, helping your brain process information every time you had a hard problem to solve. And it has done all of that without asking you for anything in return, without complaining, without giving clear signals when it's in trouble, because it's such a discreet organ it would rather compensate and keep working than cry out that it needs help. What I'm asking of you today isn't much. 2 hours of your evening, softer light, less screen time, 2 Brazil nuts, a timely dinner, a slightly cooler room. That's all it needs. And in exchange, it gives you metabolism, energy, mental clarity, stable body temperature, balanced mood, and a heart that beats at the right rhythm. Doesn't sound like a bad deal to me, And here I'll close with something that sums up everything we talked about today. The thyroid doesn't break down overnight. It fades slowly, habit by habit, night by night, and it can be reawakened the same way, slowly, habit by habit, night by night. Start tonight. If this video gave you something today, share it with someone who's been feeling tired for no apparent reason. It could be the thyroid. And tell me in the comments, has your thyroid been checked in the past year, and did they only run the TSH or also the free T3 and free T4? Drop it below. That information helps me know what videos to make next. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Take care of yourself.